again, my fellow film buffs. Welcome to another episode of How I See It. This is Straight Shooter. Once again, it looks a bit different, but I'm at the same place, Team Sound Studios. Big shout out to my buddy for providing the studio and giving me lighting and helping me out with doing this. So today, as you can probably tell by the title, I'm here to talk about Bumblebee. And before I go into my review, let me just say that I will be giving spoilers because I'll be going into specific plot points of the movie like I always do. I'll be discussing differences between different Transformers movies. So a little backstory on Bumblebee. I'm a big fan of the Transformers franchise. I'm a kid of the 80s. I grew up with the G1 cartoon. The 1986 animated movie was the be-all, end-all. Like, no one thought they could top it. And that's still maybe a little bit true, but there have been advances since then. I was a big fan of the first Transformers movie. After that, they kind of lost their edge, forgot what made it cool, and just went with, the bombastic style that Michael Bay is known for doing and just amping it up each time with each movie. And they forgot about the characters. The characters are what makes the Transformers so cool. Not just the humans, but the robots as well, the Autobots and Decepticons. Bumblebee brings it back. And when they start out on Cybertron, which is really cool because it feels like they almost adapted the beginning of the 86 animated movie, where they're fighting on Cybertron and they have to escape because they're in a losing battle. Bumblebee escapes, he goes to Earth, and he crashes into Earth in the 80s. And you might be thinking, oh yeah, they're cashing in on another 80s nostalgia time period piece or whatever. But it really worked in this movie because the Transformers were the 80s. That's when they started, in the 80s. So it was cool to see them bring back the franchise to where it started, in the animated verse anyway. And another thing that was cool about it is you got to hear him talk. Bumblebee talked in the beginning of the movie, and they actually showed events leading up to the first Transformers movie, where he loses his voice in a battle. He learns to talk through the radio. You see him doing that in the movie. They really hit it out of the park with this one. Up there with the first Transformers movie for me, it's about neck and neck. And the animated movie. Those are like top 3 Transformers movies. I don't know where I am in the order yet. I just saw Bumblebee, but I'll probably see it again. But it's up there. It's really good. And not only because of Bumblebee himself, but when they were on Cybertron, they showed a lot of the Transformers in their original G1 designs. Like, it was really cool to see Soundwave as a tape deck again. And when they were battling the Autobots, he goes, Ravage, eject, and Ravage comes out, and that was just awesome. And there were other original Transformers like Cliffjumper, Ratchet, you see his original design, and then you see Optimus Prime on Cybertron, and he looks like he did in the G1 cartoons. And then Bumblebee comes to Earth, and he's damaged, his voice is damaged, his memory core is damaged, so he transforms into a beetle, which, right there, come on, that's awesome. Bumblebee, a beetle again. A yellow beetle at that. And but he's just a car at that point. He meets up with the human protagonist of the movie, which I thought she did a really good job. She was played by Haley Steinfeld, and you might have seen her in Ender's Game or True Grit, but she's really like the breakout actress of her time, and she really does a good job in this movie of portraying a late teen who's rebelling against, I don't know, I guess you would call it society, her parents, or whatever you want to call it, but really she's rebelling because there was a death in the family, and she's having a hard time coping with it. She ends up getting Bumblebee, and she fixes him up, and they become friends, and it was a real good balance of her meeting Bumblebee and getting caught up in the fight with Bumblebee versus the Decepticons, and Bumblebee helping her through her life, helping her to gain her confidence back, helping her. She even told them at the end, "Thank you for making me feel like me again." And it was just a really cool story. The soundtrack was awesome. The battles were really cool because one of the things that bugs me about the Transformers movies is when the Autobots and the Decepticons battle, it's really hard to follow. Because number one, there's the shaky cam. And number two, the robots are so big that they take up most of the screen and it's hard to tell what they're doing to one another. In this movie, they filmed a lot using wide angles, so you can see clearly the battle between Bumblebee and the two Trouble Changers that come to Earth to hunt him down. It was a really cool way to connect to the Transformers universe that they already established, yet have their own movie. The movie in itself is really cool. And the hope is that maybe they can continue with this and maybe not disregard what Michael Bay did, but maybe reboot it somehow. I don't know. But it's going to be hard to tell because they kind of already connected to the first Transformers. They showed the beginning of Sector 7, the military, and how they became to know about Transformers. So would I recommend Bumblebee? Absolutely. 100%, 150%. If you're a Transformers fan, if you heard about the Transformers, if they look interesting to you, check out Bumblebee because it's really good. It's got good action. It's got good acting. Even John Cena. He's from the wrestling world, and I remember him from when I used to watch wrestling, and I was like, okay, he's coming into the acting world kind of like The Rock did, following in his footsteps. There's only one Rock, right? But John Cena actually did a pretty good job here. He was kind of funny. He was a military guy, but they showed him at the end coming to terms with the fact that the Transformers aren't all bad guys, and Bumblebee's not a bad robot or a bad person. He is generally trying to help the humans. And he aligns himself with the good side at the end, which is really cool to see. And one other really cool thing at the end, you see Bumblebee change into the Camaro that he is in the first Transformers movie. He and Haley Steinfeld have to say goodbye. Her name is Charlie in the movie. That's her character. She was what Spike was in the Transformers cartoon. Mechanic, working on Bumblebee, finds Bumblebee, and she's kind of a tomboy, but she's really pretty inside. They have to say goodbye because she has his family. He has to be with his comrades. And he changes into the Camaro, and then you see him driving off on the bridge, and right next to him is Optimus Prime in his old G1 truck form. And it was just so cool. There was so much fan service in this movie. If you're a fan of the old Transformers cartoon, and I'm talking like the 80s cartoon, the G1, and you're like whatever about the Michael Bay franchise, you could take it or leave it, or you just really don't like it very much, I think this could be the movie for you. Like I said, I like the first Transformers movies. After that, I'm like, There were some really terrible ones. There were some just okay ones. But in general, personally, I just own the first one. I definitely will own Bumblebee when it comes out on disc. There's really nothing bad for me to say about this movie. I really liked it. I wouldn't change anything. I thought it was really well done. That's it. That's how I see it. So, thank you for tuning in for this episode. Take care. This is Straight Shooter, How I See It. See you later.